What's shaking, everybody? Ross Mandell here, coming to you from Scott Woolley Studios in Delray Beach, Florida. And what a treat I have for you guys. I get a call from my team that there's this fabulous guy in Miami. He's a mover, he's a shaker, he's a player in the political scene, owns a vineyard, etc. He's from my business, my ex-business, a big Wall Street guy. I said, what's his name? They say his name, this is Ace Cruz. I'm like, what? I mean, of course, his name can't be Ace. They just call him Ace because he's spectacular. He's special. So I want you all to say hello to Mr. Ace Cruz.
How are you, everyone? Ross, listen, I appreciate the intro. Thank you. I don't know how I can live up to that, but I'm very grateful to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me and looking forward to talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And one of the first things that happened today, he sat down in the chair. We were getting all the technical issues worked out. And he said, what's your real name? Nobody's name is Ace, right? Yeah. He goes, Ace Cruz. I said, can't be. Who has such a cool name? I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, who thinks of these things? I mean, I love it. And the story gets a little better. He goes, it's not just Ace. It's Aceless.
Ace Lee.
Ace Lee, like Bruce Lee, but Ace Lee.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a sexier story, but as the legend goes, if you will, my dad was a PE teacher in Cuba, and in the 1970s, he was a track guy, so he liked the style of this German athlete who ran track and field, and he kind of winged it. It's like, hey, Ace Lee, yeah, all right, put me down for that, and I wish I had a sexier story, but that's it. The spelling, everyone always creams the pronunciation of the name, so Ace just kind of stuck for short, Ace Lee. And boom, that's the story.
Well, I just want to say this, and the audience is going to understand this to be true. Any man named Ace Cruz, he better be a stud. He better be studly. He better be a man. And look at this guy. Shows up in a meticulous three-piece suit. He knows enough to keep the lower button unbuttoned. He's got a nice tie. He's got a custom-made shirt, French cuff. I mean, looks like Italian shoes. I mean, his hair. He's got that whole look that I haven't shaved today look. And bro, it's so nice to meet you. Really.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the kind words. I'm going to go ahead and confirm it. You do have to be a stud with a name like Ace.
You better, otherwise you're going to get slapped around.
Right. We don't want that. It's bad for business, you know.
It's bad for being a young boy growing up, and I know your childhood was something we're going to talk about right now because. Some people do know you. Nelson, who is my wingman, he's my right-hand guy, says, you got to meet this guy. He's an amazing guy. Gus Rodrigo, who's become a dear friend.
Gus is a good guy as well.
Knew me from the years that I was in the stock brokerage business. I guess he still is.
Yes.
At Broussard Securities. Well, shout out to my boy Gus Rodrigo. Knows Ace Cruz. And I get a text from a very, very beautiful, accomplished woman who I hold in very high regard. And you have to be very special for me to say that. I mean, I don't hold everybody in such high regard. I hate to say it, especially women, because I was married for 25 years and then I was in prison. And so now I'm just starting to look at women in another way. She's a spectacular young woman. She was in this chair where you're sitting. And she says to me on text, I met a guy last night through my friend Sammy, who says he's a great guy, has a vineyard, and he said that he's going to be on your podcast.
How's that? Absolutely. Not only what I'll tell you, here's how the story gets a little crazier. I was looking at some of your reels, and I saw one of her clips where she's talking. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know who she was. And a day later, our mutual friend Sammy's calling us, and she says, hey, there's somebody I want you to meet. I was like, holy cow, I literally just saw her on the clip. It's what a weird coincidence, right?
Well, yeah, but, I don't really believe, coincidence is a great word, but a lot of people think these are God things, that God, creates these meetings and these happenings for a reason. I read the Kabbalah when I was locked up. I studied the Kabbalah, and it says that every single day of your life, God offers you an opportunity.
Interesting. Tell me about that.
For a blessing or a judgment. Every day of your life. This is Kabbalah. This is the culmination of like all the learnings from the Torah. and all the scripture, the Talmud, the Mishnah, all these different things, all these scriptures. It's a collection of Jewish wisdom and mysticism. And they say if the Torah is, the guidebook, Kabbalah, the Zohar, the books of the Zohar explain it. So every day God comes to you in some way, shape, or form. He offers you a blessing, so you can go down that path, or a judgment, which we look at as a, negative, a slap in the head. And then, when you go through by the time you get to the 8th book of the Kabbalah, the Zohar, it says the secret is there really are no judgments.
Interesting.
Just lessons. Just lessons. But, most people don't pay attention to these things. I've learned now as an older guy and a seasoned guy, been through life's ups, downs, etc., to pay attention to this. But, Ace, I got to say this to you. I look at you today. If I told you look like $1 million, I'm lying, because you look like $1 billion.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There's something that you noticed offhand. And any idea why I dress this way? I'll tell you why. So, you made a point reference to my shoes when I was wearing. When I was growing up, the kids used to make fun of me. They used to make fun of me because I used to have to wear the same clothes to work or to school every day.
I believe that.
Yeah, I love running into them now.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
So,
it. Now, let me just say like this. I understand. My team has done some background on you. And, people will look at you today and say, well, what a guy. First, very good looking.
Thank you.
Are you married with you married kids?
I'm not. I'm not married. I'd like to. I'd like to have a family and so on.
Hold on. You're a single guy?
I am.
Ladies, what? This guy's single, rich, successful, handsome. What? We're going to get to this.
All right.
I'll be pimping you out, bro. I mean, you are.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
It's really tremendous. I'm shocked. Baby mama?
Nothing.
No children?
Zero. I've been pretty disciplined my whole life. So.
It's pretty crazy. All right, now, is it true you came to the United States on a boat from Cuba?
Yeah.
That's true?
During the Mariel Boatlift.
Wow.
There's a picture I sent to your crew, probably the most impactful picture that we have in our family's history. So as the story goes, during the Mariel Boatlift, anybody that knows, basically during that time, my uncle had to come up with a game plan, get our family out and leave communism and everything and come to the best country in the world. I literally won the lottery from being here, right? That's why when people talk down about this country, I'm like, why don't you just shut up and enjoy your freedom? You literally have no idea how good you have it.
They want communism. They want socialism. Go spend 2 months in Cuba, right?
So basically, as the story goes, my uncle had to come up with a game plan. He had to put the title to his house as collateral, and then he had to pay the rest. Only he had one big problem. He had to rescue 25 family members, including myself. I was the youngest person on the boat.
How old were you?
I was 1 year old.
1?
Yeah.
So you don't remember this?
I don't remember.
Thank God. I hate to say it. It's probably very brutal.
Best thing ever happened to me, right?
Yeah.
As the story goes, he had one major problem. He didn't have the rest of the money, and then he had to go back and tell my aunt, hey, listen, please don't be mad at me, but we had to rescue our family, right? Wow. So she said, I understand. I'll support you. As the story goes, for some reason or another, he pulled it off somehow, and that's how we came to this great country. And I feel it's a debt I can never possibly repay back. I can just do my little bit every day to lead by example from the front and make sure people understand how lucky we are to even live in this country.
We are, and there was a movie once, Pay It Forward.
Yeah,
and that's a concept. So I was the other day. This happened about 3 days ago. Mm-hmm. I went to the Starbucks drive-through, and I got myself the double smoked bacon with Gruyere cheese or whatever, an egg, right?
With American cheese.
Yeah, cheese and on a croissant, right? Soft croissant. And I got myself a nice big frappuccino, right? And I pull up to the window, and usually right away you pay, and then they give you the stuff, right?
Yeah.
And the guy says to me, "Oh, it's the lady in front of you paid for you."
Oh, that was nice of her.
I'm like, "Who was she?" Like, I'm thinking I must know her.
Yeah.
Maybe she knew I just got out of prison. I don't know. I mean, and he said she didn't say anything. She just said, I want to pay for the guy behind me. And a couple of people have told me that this is an ongoing thing lately. It's like a thing, like a trend.
I've certainly been.
People are paying it forward, doing a nice thing for somebody just anonymously, and because something probably very nice happened to them at some point. And, it's an interesting concept, right? There's a lot of goodness in this world. I always like to say when I tell my story, when I was looking for I was looking for trouble when I was young. I was a drug addict, I was an alcoholic.
Pretty easy to find, right?
Well, if you're looking for trouble, you're going to find trouble.
Yeah.
If you're looking for bad drugs, alcohol, illicit things, you're going to find it. But it took me a while to learn that there's so much good in this world. And if you look for the good, that you'll find too. There's really a lot of great people in the world, but you got to look.
I agree. I mean,
it's my experience. So you grew up as an immigrant, a Cuban immigrant in Miami. I'm guessing your parents didn't have a lot of money.
No.
You didn't grow up, in Boca Raton and.
No, I grew up. I grew up in Little Havana.
Okay.
So I still give back to the neighborhood. I bring in a lot of through other methods, tourism into the neighborhood. It's now a historic neighborhood now, where a lot of tourism comes in, help build economic activity in the neighborhood and so on. And they actually have. So I own a wine brand for the audience that doesn't know. It's called Ojala Wine. They actually have an exhibit.
Say it again. Ojala Wine.
Ojala Wine.
Ojala?
Yes, wine.
And it's a wine, and it's a vineyard. You produce red wine, white wine.
So basically what we do is they're all sustainable wines. There's about 200 data points that are checked off in every bottle.
What does sustainable mean?
Basically, you take a look at a certain kind of methodology. Everything from water conservation is looked at, soil. We don't put any pesticides in our vines and so on. So what I do is I source grapes from different vineyards. So there's about 200 data points that are checked off.
Interesting.
Energy efficiency, putting people to work, paying responsible wages, and so on. And basically, there is an exhibit at a place called the Havana Collection, which is a clothing store, and also what they call Rooster Alley in Little Havana, which pays kind of homage, not just to me, but some of the more influential people in the neighborhood and in, I guess, Cuban-American culture and so on. But
nice.
I really, it's a good thing, It is.
Grew up in the neighborhood. I want to get into this a little more because I know when you like you said, when you were growing up, you didn't have a lot of clothes to wear. Your kids made fun of you.
Yeah,
I get that, and so the journey. When I say the journey, I don't mean the actual, just the physical journey.
Yeah.
The journey of growing up, like as an immigrant, like how did it? It must have shaped who you are today, right? Because look at you, you're a successful man by any standard, right?
I got to tell you, thank you. I got to tell you, I don't know how much of the audience gets imposter syndrome, but I'm going to die from that one day eventually.
Say it again?
Imposter syndrome, where you're like, I'm literally the dumbest guy in the room, and then people are like, maybe I'm not that dumb, and then you have your days. But look, it obviously shapes a lot. I'm very grateful. I don't have any complaints. I just have my days where, I go up and down just like anybody else.
Correct.
And I kind of self-reflect and so on. But it shaped a very big, it's more, so what stimulates me is not so much outside, it's on the inside. You know what I mean? I heard someone say something very powerful one time, and it kind of stuck with me. And he said, with every brick they threw at me, I'm going to build this empire.
Love it.
Something like that.
I love it. I get it. I love it. Yeah. And, it's fodder. It's like, in pro sports, there's a big game coming and one of the dopes on one of the teams starts denigrating or demeaning the other team or a player on the team.
Bad move.
It's just giving him fodder, giving him fuel.
It does.
To get crazy. And it seems to me like your experience as a young Cuban immigrant growing up in Miami in the 80s and 90s, seeing what you don't have. Because there were people swinging. And I was swinging in the 80s and 90s in Miami.
80s was a very tumultuous time in Miami.
I had millions of dollars. I was taking private jets. I was driving, Mercedes convertibles. And I was in limos in the finest restaurants. And I was flashy and showy and arrogant. I'm telling you my story. And I used to come to Miami and party. And I'm coming from New York, 3-day weekend, made a 4 or 5 day weekend. I'm staying at the Boca Resort. I'm staying at some of the different cool hotels in Miami. I used to take my family, and when my wife was my girlfriend, I used to go and we used to rent cabanas for $3,000 a night and party and have fun, and And as a young man, you witnessed all these things.
Everything across the board that happened in the 80s, I saw it firsthand.
Cocaine cowboys. Miami went crazy with money.
A significant amount of violence, stuff that it's best that you forget. It was just...
you witnessed the violence, or you actually was a participant?
No, I was a child in the 80s. So I was an adult.
When were you born? What year?
1978.
78.
Yeah, so I was a child.
The year I graduated from college.
No, there you go.
Interesting.
So everything across the board, it's just stuff that... it fucking affects you, But,
so this is an obvious question, but it's something I got to ask. Were there any particular challenges or opportunities that you faced as a Cuban-American child in Miami?
Look, not really, because to me, as far as I knew, I was an American. You know what I mean? It was.
But you grew up in a little Havana.
Yeah, but you know what? It's like I always considered myself to be an American.
I love it. You didn't use your status as an excuse. A lot of people do. Well,
I never even I was of Cuban heritage, but I always considered myself an American. I would always look at the World War II movies like, yeah, we were the good guys. Yeah, the red, white, and blue. Holy shit. Oh, this is America. I was always enamored by that. Like,
do you like Cuban food to this day?
Yeah, sure. I grew up on it, yeah.
And are your parents still alive?
My father passed away a few years ago. My mom's still alive.
She cook on the holidays and all those different things?
My grandmother was the one.
Okay.
Who would really cook. She passed away a few years ago, but a lot of Cuban food.
What was like a family favorite for you, in the holidays when only your mom or your grandma could cook this kind of thing?
So,
what was your thing?
So, for sure we like pork a lot, right? So we get what we call cajachina, which is basically a box where you cook in your pork, and then you can have that Thanksgiving, you can have that Christmas, you can have that New Year's Eve. It didn't matter. There was always one going on. So we're real big on pork, and those are more the family type of feasts that we had. But that's the one that really sticks out. I mean...
How was it prepared, the pork that you like?
Well, they usually bring it in. They would usually slaughter the pig, and a couple days before they would prep it. They would put all the ingredients in. I would see my grandmother doing it. My mom would help out as well, but usually about 2 days of prepping it.
Yeah.
And then you cook it, and then everyone ate. Good times. Usually a holiday. So that's the one that stands out the most. Everything else is just everyday stuff, like rice and beans and
a lot of rice
chicken,
and beans.
But everything goes for everything.
I mean, in prison,
the stereotypes are real.
Rice and beans like six days a week.
Yeah, there you go.
In prison, it's cheap, I guess, and I guess it's somewhat growing up as a Jewish kid, pork was like pork is a no-no. If you read if you go by the kashrut, the kosher laws and all that. But my family wasn't kosher, and personally, I happen to. I think pork is the most tasty thing. Like I said, double smoked bacon is my thing over at Starbucks.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Who doesn't love bacon? I mean, you got to be kidding me. Don't live in denial. As Emeril Lagasse said, pork fat rules. It's just it adds so much flavor and taste. I used to make a pasta sauce. I'm Jewish, but I love Italian food. I used to make a sauce, and I would. You fry up some pork sausages and stuff first, and that pork fat is in the tomato sauce. What? It adds flavor. You can't get that flavor from anything else. It's crazy. All right, so really, being a young Cuban sort of immigrant in Miami didn't really shape you or affect you too much, except you did reveal, kids made fun of you at some point. Tell us about that.
So
be honest. I want you to get honest.
I'm going to give it to you straight. I mean, it is what it is. I grew up basically fighting, fist fights all the time. Sometimes you would become friends by the end of the day. Sometimes not so much.
Well, that's like Wall Street.
Yeah,
I used to fight with guys, and by the end of the day, we're going out for a drink.
Right. So the way we grew up, or these guys are, they were Type A personalities, my buddies, and so on. But
that's good. I like that.
So, you learn a lot of lessons, and you learn a lot of lessons quick. There was a lot of, people visiting my house that, we didn't really know stuff was going on.
Okay.
So you learn in a hurry to pick up who you're talking to or suffer the consequences. You had to see what state of mind people were in, figure people out. And by the way, it's a real big gift that I have now in business, because now I can figure people out real quick.
You're a good judge of character?
Very. And sometimes when somebody's trying, I just play dumb. like I don't know, you know? So I can tell you from your breathing, the tonality in your voice, the cadence in your voice, your micro expression, your nonverbal cues. I can pretty much read you far, far before you actually get here.
No, you're not with the CIA, right?
I'm not.
But all those things you just said are very unique gifts. Not so much the ability, but your ability to verbalize them that way. I'm so impressed with that.
Thank you. It's a survival skill. It's a survival skill. So
I'm good. I'm good in all the same areas, but I can't verbalize it like that. That was just brilliant.
Thank you. So
that's a great clip, Nelson.
Thanks, Nelson. So yeah, sure. You know, it affects everything. You know, and how you view the world and so on. Correct. But for me, look, I can adapt pretty good because I had to, and that's another skill that I have. But I'm not going to be the guy that's complaining. I'm not going to be the guy that's like, well, it's because of XYZ president, or it's because of – no, it's you. You screwed up. It's on you.
You're not an excuse maker.
Right. But I also, when people –
you own your own failures and things of that nature.
But when people become complainers, I get out of them real quick. But now I will say many times it's very difficult for me to deal with certain types of personalities.
I get that, boy.
You know what I mean? It's like some of these people, if you don't stop them in their tracks, it almost emboldens them. I hate that.
I do too, and I'm struggling with some of that right now in my life.
You know?
I'm struggling with some of that in my own life. There are people around me. I can't take their attitudes. It's just the negativity is just it's torture to me.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to, like you say, sometimes you just play dumb.
I don't know, but it kind of eats away at your psyche.
Any mentors that come to mind? I mean,
I will say,
okay,
I will say, yeah. So I played sports my entire life. For some reason, for whatever reason, I don't know, at every step of the game, depending on what sport I was playing or even in business, for some reason, someone went out of the way to mentor me. So I have been very lucky when it comes to that.
Mentorship is everything, I find. I look back on my life now.
Right. However, there's been, there's one or two instances where it got to the point where me and the mentor weren't getting along anymore.
Well, so people come into your life for a season.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's I think that you are a successful stud of a man.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you.
If we put the Chat GPT and I think your picture today would come up.
Thank you. I'm very kind.
And you came over here from a very poor country with a big family. I don't think you guys yachted over here. You probably jammed up on it.
We weren't at the country club.
You understand what I mean. And you grew up in sort of the hood, Little Havana. By the way, my hair cutter, he's a great kid. Smoking Bodega, Little Havana right now. I want to give you a shout out. My boy Jay, Clintmore Barbershop. He opened up Smoking Bodega in Little Havana. I want to just give you a shout out.
I'm going to go visit them.
We mentioned Little Havana.
Right.
He's doing great. He's a great hair cutter, and he's become a friend.
Good.
But what I want to say is that, we understand you grew up, you had family, you with a bunch of alpha type guys. There was normal stuff, fights, but now I hugged you when you walked in. I gave you a hug. And guys, I want to say he's built, he's tight, he's an athlete. At every level. You're about, how tall are you?
6 feet.
I was going to say 6 feet is probably about 185.
Yeah, 200.
Yeah, 200. He's solid as a fucking rock.
Thank you.
What were your sports?
So I played a lot. Football, I wrestled, I ran track, baseball.
What weight did you wrestle?
Back then it was about 135.
Okay, I was at 138, 140.
Yeah, pretty competitive
me
down
too.
Here. I ran track. I did martial arts.
I could see. It's all these different things.
I've done triathlons. I still skydive. I'm a skydiver.
That I did see.
Yeah,
and,
jumped all over the world.
I did it once, and you know what? I'm happy I did it once. Not really, but I'm glad I survived.
I've come to the conclusion I need to do stuff like that to really stimulate me. That's just how I'm built.
Right.
But I want to say one thing. So, part of being so my friends often kid, if those are the AA personality, I'd probably be more than a type A. There's some truth to that. My dad was the biggest macho man guy I've ever encountered in my entire life.
Your dad?
My dad was no punk by any stretch of the imagination. We never got along on anything. We had beef probably a good portion of the time. But I would say in his defense, there was a couple of emergencies where he did step up to the plate. We just saw the world differently. So I saw what, those are the type of men that were around me, especially.
I understand.
Nobody was a punk coming into my house, so that was pretty normal.
Real men.
Yeah.
These are real men. This is old school. It's not.
You couldn't say bad words in front of kids. You couldn't hit women.
No.
You get disgraced. However,
I understand.
They definitely took care of business amongst themselves.
No, I understand that. I get it. I love that because I'm from a similar type world.
Yeah.
So, 'cause my father passed away when I was 16, and so I sought out father type figures, mentor people in my life, and that's one of the reasons why I was so successful in the stock market business in that world.
I would say it's a gift.
But I have the raw abilities, and I had the desire, which is most of the game. But I had people that were willing to allow me to just hang around,
Right.
to sit in their office and take notes, and that has enabled me to reach heights that I never would have. I heard about. I heard about a guy that was doing $100,000 of commissions every month, or $500,000. I even heard of guys that did $1 million a month, and I couldn't even imagine it when I was a struggling broker. Opening accounts, all these different things.
Yeah.
And pitching guys to buy friggin' $10,000 worth of stock or some bonds or whatever, and eventually I found guys that were doing $100,000 a month that allowed me to sit in their office, and I saw how they spoke. I saw how they handled a phone call. I saw how they handled the intermediaries, the secretaries, or the assistants, and all these different things.
Success leaves clues.
And I learned from them. And Michael Cavanaugh, love you, dude. You shaped my life, a good part of my life. You don't even know it. Morty Davis showed me how to make millions of dollars. David Black how to structure deals private. I get millions. I'm involved in all kinds of deals right now. They're ridiculous.
Go, baby, go.
I'm just saying. But these men paved the way and allowed me to sort of hang around and learn. It's doable. It's fucking doable. It's not. It's like guys climb Mount Everest.
When you see someone do it,
I look at a big mountain and say, "Oh, we do have to do this." Well,
when
people do it.
It's when they broke the 4-minute mile. As soon as one guy did it,
It was
everybody was
impossible
doing it.
to run the 4-minute mile. My whole life. Then one guy did. Everybody does it.
Right.
Now
So
now women. It's a standard.
Right.
Young kids do it.
So-
But here's my question.
Yeah.
So you're not just what I call a successful guy, made a bunch of money, has a nice business, want to do a podcast. My take on Ace Cruz right now, we just met, right?
Yeah, sure.
We never spoke, right?
Never.
This is my highest compliment, okay, as a man. You're on the come up.
Thank you.
You're not a fat cat that's trading on his name and pointing this and pointing at that. You're on the come up. You're moving. You're still moving.
Thank you. And you know what? My friends often say, "What are you talking about? Have you seen your life? What do you like? Are you crazy?" And then I'm like, "You think so?" It's
You make good money?
I do okay. I pay my bills.
But you have nice bills, right?
Yeah.
You're not living in the hood anymore.
No, definitely not.
You're probably not living in a studio apartment.
No. I do pretty good. I can always do better.
Okay.
But I can pay my bill. That's what I'm thankful
I'm going
for.
to say you're a millionaire, but I'm just going to say it. I'm not asking you to confirm anything. I'm not asking you to deny anything.
Right.
But, I like to say that this is a kid that had every reason to not succeed.
Yeah,
You understand what I mean?
I do. Let me ask you a question. I have a question for you.
Please.
Did you ever have a pivotal moment where something real bad happened to you? You had two choices. Either fight or just retreat. And then you're like, fuck. Excuse me, I don't know if I can curse on the show.
You can curse all you want.
And you
This
just
is raw media.
Yeah, you said,
We're
fuck it.
authentic
Let's
and
just
real.
go. Let's just go step on the gas.
Okay. That's the story of my life.
Okay.
Okay, 16. I'm a good kid. Wrestling team, football team, girlfriend. Nice kid, normal kid. Drank a little with the kids in the neighborhood just to experience it, right? Smoked pot once or twice. Didn't care for it that much, but I enjoyed it. Just being with the guys, doing stuff. Other alpha males in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Father drops dead.
So
Father
you have to
drops
figure it out.
dead. Mother has a nervous breakdown. My brother he's 13, closes the door in his room. And I say, you know what? I was angry. I was selfish and all this. I just went out into the world with a fucking attitude. I'm a scary guy. The scariest type of person in my experience is someone that really doesn't give a fuck. Not a guy that's his rap.
And can sleep at night.
Well, I'm talking about a guy that really doesn't care if he lives or dies.
Yeah.
That was me. That's how bad it was. I was that angry. I was angry. I was red hot, wild, angry at God, at my circumstances, and all that. And then, somehow I found Wall Street. I graduated college. Somehow I got managed. I'm very. I
Give you
have
a sense of purpose and identity, I bet.
I have abilities, and then I said, you know what? I want to be a player. I want to be like Ace Cruz, right? I want to have the hottest women. I want to have the nicest cars. I want to be able to buy the nicest apartments or the nicest house. I want to go to vacation in the best places. I want to eat in the best restaurants. That's what I want. And whatever I wanted, I was like a giant walking id, and I got it. And I discovered the stock market. It's expensive if you want to be a big player.
Yeah.
Think about if you're in Miami and you want to be a big player. Every time I go out to one of these restaurants, $500,000. That's without real drinks and all that. Everything's the best restaurants.
Starts adding up.
They're robbing like crazy, right? The apartments. Think what an apartment costs today. Just if you want to go in Brickell and rent a 2-bedroom. My niece has an apartment, $8,000 a month.
Right.
Not even all that. I mean, it's nice, but I'm just saying. So you want to be a player, have a nice car. I'm having lunch with a guy tomorrow. He's actually giving away a Lamborghini right now in a contest. He's a big social media star and all that, one of the top of the tops. And make a long story short, if you're going to be a player like that, I was a player in Manhattan in the 80s and the 90s and 2000. I was a player.
The golden age.
I was flying a private jets. I flew my first private jet in 1985. It's nobody but me and a bunch of guys that would become billionaires.
Yeah.
Not even the athletes hadn't figured that out. Rappers and all that. And then, so to make a long story short, pivotal moments. 33 years old. I'm a wreck. I say, fuck it. I check myself and I get sober.
Good.
Another moment, pivotal moment. The police, the FBI raids my brokerage firm. I have a decision to make. Fight or flight, literally. I went public overseas in Europe. I had all my 10,000 millionaires as clients overseas. I stayed, I fought. Mistake. That was a mistake I regret. But I had bad advice and all these different things. So yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Now tell us about your pivotal moments.
I'll tell you what, I was a little bit younger. And I remember this, and I'm going to...
How old? Roughly.
I was 6 years old.
Okay, 6 years old.
So I remember, and I'm going to hide some of the identities here. Because,
That's okay.
All right, so...
That's okay.
I get into... I was basically being a brat. I was 6 years old. I was a kid. And I didn't want to take a shower. And...
I love it.
I get beat so hard that I forgot where I was at. I'm guessing I got knocked out. Right. I'm not exactly sure. To give you an idea, the faucet hit my... and I remember I got up. I kept getting beat. And basically, I kept insulting the person beating me, right? Until they were so tired of beating me that they had to leave because they ran out of energy. And I told them, listen to me. I'm a 6-year-old kid, but I'm stronger than you are. You're a coward. Don't leave. Look at me when I'm talking to you. I've never backed away from a fight ever again.
A fist fight, you mean? A physical altercation?
An altercation, a challenge, it'll never happen.
I love that.
It'll never happen.
That's an amazing story.
So that's
this sums up Ace Cruz in a nutshell.
So basically, imagine
underneath the fancy clothes, you're just a fucking you're an angry guy yourself.
Yeah,
I love it.
I was traveling to earlier this year. I was in Thailand. I went and I fought Muay Thai kickboxing. Right.
I love it.
So the guy says, "Hey, you ever been in a fight?" I'm like, "Yeah, a few." He says, "How many professional fights do you have?" I'm like, well, I've trained.
Right.
I was like, "Look, no professional fights,
right.
but I've trained." So he says, "Have you been in a fist fight?" He's like, "Yeah." He says, "How many?" He's like, "Yeah, at least 200 of them." So I'll show you the video after. He's like, "All right."
Love it, bro. I also have been in many fights. I also fought in MMA and boxing. And I
did MMA as well?
I have amateur fights, but I didn't fight professional.
Yeah,
I was offered my car, a boxing car by the commissioner in the state of Florida.
Nice.
I didn't do it, though.
Yeah, well, you know what? I like that stuff.
I do.
You know what I mean? You feel live. You know what I mean?
You don't realize we're talking about it. I'm having a physical reaction.
Yeah, me too. I'm getting sweaty, right?
I feel adrenaline.
I get that, too, from skydiving. There's a lot of camaraderie. You're about to do some stuff. It could be potentially fatal,
Right.
And you get that, and it's very mellow after a while.
I get that way by being around good-looking women.
Yeah.
I'm too old for this stuff. But I want to tell you, I get you now. I get you at a level that many people in the audience are not going to understand. Because I am you in in a different way, shape, and form. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
I am you. When I was 40, your age, if I show you a picture of me when I was 46, you won't believe it. I was
I'm sure.
Animal.
Your ex-wife showed me some videos of you talking on CNBC, I believe. I was like, hey, I remember this guy's face talking when I first got into business.
Oh, yeah. I was, I have quite a litany of serious hits. I mean, before social media, if they had social media in my day, I'd probably have 50 million followers. I was on the front page of 130 newspapers in 200 countries. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
I was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. The front page, 6 times. I have them at my house.
Good.
And some of them were, I mean, in 1996, March 14th, 1996, the Dow Jones Corporation, which owned the Wall Street Journal, published the biggest story in the history of the Wall Street Journal at that time, 5,250 words. It was my life story.
Mm-hmm. Did they do a total hit job on it?
It was to kill me and destroy me. And I jammed them up for a few months. I spent $500,000 suing them, stalling them, First Amendment lawsuit in court. And but by that time, I already had my own firm. After that came out, everybody wanted to work for me. I was the Wolf of Wall Street before the Wolf of Wall Street. Geordie Belfort made up that name. No one ever called him the Wolf. There never was a story, the Wolf of Wall Street. He made up that name for the movie. I had Danny Porsche, his partner, the Jonah Hill character in that movie, sitting here telling us all this. So it's very, very interesting. But I really was this wild man back in the 80s and 90s. And so mentorship has meant something to you.
Yeah, they have it. Look, it's a lot of times in business, and this is the part that people don't understand. Everybody thinks in business, regardless of what business you're in, whether it's Wall Street or the wine side, you get into these peaks and valleys, right?
Correct.
Where I would say the most dangerous part is when things are going good. That's the most dangerous part. Now, I know enough from learning the hard way. Whenever you think you're the man,
you're dead.
The end is near. When everything's working out, because you start coasting.
You're on your way down.
Right.
You're on your way down. That's why I said you're on the come up now. I'm just telling you. I see that already. They told me, make sure you're never the smartest guy in the room. Because if you're the smartest guy in the room, you're fucked. Absolutely. One day I looked up and I saw I was in this fancy office and I got $150 million in the bank. My company's got $200 million and I'm looking at all these fucking knuckleheads around me. And that was the beginning of the end.
So I'll tell you
understand what I mean?
Yeah, I actually do. Yeah.
The fact that you actually know this is shocking.
The ups and downs, look, the lows are low, the highs are euphoric. When everything's working out.
They can be.
But the lows, man, they're very big swings. But I know enough now to know, wait, something's wrong. I'm getting too many compliments. There's no resistance to anything.
Right.
I'm taking too many vacations. Something's wrong. Let me slow that down. And I got a little bit of a game plan. Sometimes what I'll do is, I'll start to wear the clothes I used to wear back in the day.
Really? I love it.
I don't get too cocky.
I love it. You know what?
So it's in my character to feel overconfident.
I'm blowing up slowly on social media, all these different things, and we're doing a lot of great podcasts, and my name's not getting out there in a positive, useful way. I was in prison. I just got out last January. It's only 1 year that I'm actually, not in federal custody after 9 years, 4 months.
Good. I applaud the effort you're doing.
Thank you. And I said the other day, where are the haters? Nobody's hating on me. It concerns me.
Yeah.
Like you just say, I'm old enough. I have enough experience under my belt. I'm not getting any resistance, and that worries me. I mean, it's
almost like it's a trap.
Well, it's
a counter trap. The offense
I'm waiting for the shoe to drop because there's no such thing. God has a way of keeping us on our toes every day, like Kabbalah says. Now, we just talked about that entrepreneurship does come with setbacks.
Yeah.
You, at some point, decided to go into finance, correct?
Yeah.
How long you've been a registered?
Yeah. So I've been in the business. I still am for about 21 years now in April.
Like Series 7?
Yeah.
Series 6?
Yeah.
Series 63?
7, 63.
Not at 24.
No.
Okay.
So and the audience, please excuse me. I'm limited to what I can say and can't say because it's highly regulated.
Highly regulated.
So please. Before making any financial decisions, consult your own financial advisor. But basically, I had a buddy of mine who was friends with our mutual friend Gus.
Right.
He was a DJ.
Okay.
And I was a nightclub promoter for about 10 years. I was in the club business,
I
doing
love
parties
that.
and all that. Very entrepreneurial my entire life, right? So he calls me one day and says, hey, I need to get you an interview here. This is completely made up for you, right? So I go in there and he gets me the interview. It's a group interview. It's about 20 of us, right? They start asking questions. Now, you got to understand, I'm completely intimidated. It's Wall Street.
I get it.
I don't have a suit. Everyone's wearing a suit and a tie. I had a tie that I didn't even
and everybody
tie,
judges
right,
you on that.
Right. And
Instantly judged.
Right. So they're giving a group interview, right? And the interviewer says at one point, hey kid, am I giving the interview or are you giving the interview? All right, just pipe down, right? So what do you think about that? He says, look, he cuts it short. He says, he gets his clipboard. He starts looking. He says, I'm going to call everyone's name. As soon as I call your name, just get to the side and I'm going to give you a tour of the firm. He calls everyone's name but me. So I'm like, fuck. He says, just wait here. He gives everyone a tour. He comes back 10 minutes later. He comes back. He says, no one got the job. You did. Be here on Monday. I was like, holy shit.
I love that.
I ended up graduating top guy of the training program. Never looked back. All I needed was a chance. That was it. We should get to the office at 5:30 in the morning. The cold call. We'd call the UK and so on.
Oh, you were calling the UK?
Yeah, Europe and so on. And I literally never looked back because all I needed was a chance. That was it.
What firm was that with?
I can't say because
You can't even say the name of the firm. Okay.
Yeah, I can't say, but
I was-
but
Go ahead.
you would have known him.
Yeah, I was in the F Hutton training program.
Yeah.
In 1983, I started.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I basically never looked back. Because for me, it was just an opportunity in another place.
So you're still in the business.
Yeah.
So you're in the money business essentially.
Yeah. Basically, what I do is I protect clients' assets and give them an income stream that's tax free. But again, it's limited to what I can say.
No, I
so much as
understand.
the
I'm not,
regulators,
but this is really amazing because, that's my world.
Mm-hmm.
That's my arena. I'm an expert. I've owned brokerage firms. I've owned a hedge fund. I've had a bank.
impressive.
I was the largest, according to the Wall Street Journal, CNBC, et cetera. I mean, real sort of institutional ownership that made these statements, including the United States government during my trial.
Mm-hmm.
I was the largest exporter of American financial opportunities to non-residents of the United States in the world.
Wow, impressive.
In the world. I had 10,000 millionaires as clients with Sky Capital.
That's a pretty big client list.
Yeah. It was huge. And,
I mean, just
we had
on the
100,000
referrals alone.
accounts in the UK alone. 100,000.
I can imagine the amount of referrals were coming off just from those existing
You
accounts.
can't understand. I spent no time talking to anybody. I just was problem solving. It was nothing but problems. And, this is in 9/11 happens. 9/11, 2001 with the anti-money laundering.
Yeah.
So the things that you today have to deal with, we didn't have that. All of a sudden one day they changed all the rules because of, the money laundering and what happened with the failure of Enron and WorldCom. These are the biggest companies in the world. Moody's, Standard & Poor's, have them A+ rated and they go to zero.
Yeah.
Lucent, a Bell company, A+ rated, 82 to zero.
And all of a sudden,
I mean, come on.
it was pretty wild.
The government blamed the crash of 2008 and 2009.
I was in the business. Yeah.
They blamed that whole thing on me.
Did they?
The prosecutor pointed at me, and he's talking to the jury, said, he's the reason you're out of work, you lost your job. He said this. The judge is just sitting there. Anything my lawyer said, Mr. Hobbs, you can't sidebar, interrupt them. You can't say this, too prejudicial. The government just going on and on and on, lying, making up shit. I got cited for contempt. I owed court $10,000.
Wow.
Because they kept lying, and I just kept, what? I said, how can you, Mr. Mandell, one more time I'm revoking your bail. I had, at that time, a $5 million bail. Now, listen, you're in this money business, right? You're an advisor. I'm guessing you're on the conservative end. I chose to spend the majority of my time, my last 10 or 15, in the speculative end of the market, right? And but I believe that, I know you can't talk about it, but I believe you're on the more conservative side, a sort of fixed income, which is bonds, munis, and treasuries, all these different things, and that's wonderful. But then there's some sort of pivot into another business, a private business, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're no longer throwing parties in nightclubs.
No, actually,
You were in a suit and tie every morning and showing up.
Yeah. So I went to the wine business. In that time,
The wine business.
Yeah.
Now this Ojala wines.
Yeah.
That wasn't an existing brand.
No, I started in 2008.
2008 you
Right.
started.
Yes.
In the beginning of one of the biggest corrections in history.
Yes,
And that's when the system really failed. Well, the bailouts, too big to fail, all
thank God we're
failed.
still in business. I'll tell you what. I'm going to write a book for the audience, how to make every mistake in the wine business. Because I've made just about all of them. During that time, I also decided to get cute, and I went to the city of Detroit and started a real estate business. I literally started knocking on doors. I started making all sorts of mistakes. I overpaid for a bunch of things. I bought a house at one time, a duplex for like $6,500 with 2 tenants in there, paying $850 a month. I didn't know anything about the real estate business. I just thought I can do it. So I started knocking on doors.
But you were still working as a broker, so to speak.
And in the wine business.
So tell us, what made you go in the wine business first of all?
So I wish I had a sexy story, but it was part entrepreneurial, part stupidity, part, having a bunch of wins under my belt, saying, yeah, I can do this too.
But what was... what was the moment that said, all right, I think I'm going to open a wine company?
Again, you're a little bit younger, you're a little bit cockier,
But why not the podcast business? Why not, the advertising?
That's what popped up.
Did you like to drink wine?
You know what? Yeah, but now I like to drink wine even more. I have a better understanding of it, and obviously I'm quite in touch with it, a lot more now. I've been to vineyards around the world at this point. It's part of, who I am. I drink a handful of times a year because I found that long periods of not drinking is just better for a clear point of mind. But
me too.
I like wine.
Like
I like
25
champagne.
years.
Yeah,
That's what I was drinking for 25 years.
I like wine and I like champagne.
Yes.
But basically, another story. I went to California, started making deals, knocking on doors again, not knowing anybody. People laughed at me. And I solidified relationships, and I now we have long-standing relationships with different vineyards in California. But yeah, basically freestyling it, if you will, not knowing where to start.
But there was no pivotal. You didn't have a girlfriend, and you wanted to impress her, and you wanted to win.
No.
This was just like you saw you thought there would be a good opportunity.
Yeah, you can sell it around the world.
Correct.
You can make money off of it when people are drinking around the world.
It's unregulated.
Well, it's highly regulated here in the U.S., and every state has a different liquor law.
Well, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
I'm just saying what I mean is if you create a bottle of wine, right, and with the bottling and everything else, it's going to cost you $10. You could charge $1,000 if you want.
You could.
In the brokerage business, this was my experience. We were highly regulated in the sense that, if I bought a stock for you at $100, I can't charge $100 a commission. We were very regulated. We were told what we could make, this and that, and so forth and so on. But like the idea that once you have a business and you put together a bottle of wine at $8, you could sell it for $45. No one can tell you what to sell it for, just the market.
Well, the market is, right. The market sets
right.
the price. And if all of a sudden you're not selling, you got to probably cut down your prices or do something on the wine side.
Right, but I'm just saying, I love the idea that I can, I can now mentor people. No one can tell me what I can charge or not charge.
Well, the biggest problem in that industry is the distribution. There's about 3 distributors that control everything.
They control everything.
And basically, those are the gatekeepers.
100%.
And they can squash you real easy.
Easy. Well, they can make your household name also if they want.
Right. So that's what the biggest problem is. But basically, it's a 3-tier system. It's manufacturer to distributor, distributor to retailer, retailer to the consumer.
Correct.
You can't skip any of those.
No.
So it becomes a little challenging, when it's
I
two
hope
steps
it's
away
challenging.
From
If you want to build $1 million business, it's challenging. Otherwise, it would mean nothing.
God, I wish it was easy. It's not.
Nothing's easy, bro. Nothing worthwhile is easy. Trust me.
Yeah.
The older you get, everything's harder.
Well, but you also get experience. It's kind of a trade-off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's really interesting, but you have a resilience. You have a resilience to you. I think of that 6-year-old kid not want to take a shower. I hope he started showering at some point. You saw the wisdom of that lesson.
I showered before I got here. I stay pretty clean now.
Yeah, I wash my hair. Stephanie, I washed and I conditioned my hair. But never giving up. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means, look, once you quit, you got to live with yourself. You got to look at yourself in the mirror. there's no shower that's going to take that away.
No.
If you keep going, I always say I'm never out of the fight. I thrive in adversity.
Me too.
So, once you quit, now not only do you have to deal with that, but you got to deal with yourself. You can't go away from that.
Right. Well, that's the real issue. I think you just hit the nail on the head.
Right.
It's about, so many people are worried about what everybody else thinks.
Mm-hmm.
What really matters at the end of the day is what you think.
Right.
The only one that sits and judges you
God,
is you.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. Everything that you say, the only person that hears and listens to every single thing you say is you.
And it's all day long.
I think it was Einstein himself who posited that, and I don't know where he got these theories. He was so brilliant. I read several books on Einstein. I studied him. I had a lot of time in the last 10 years to read and all that. He posited that every single thing that the five senses experience, everything you hear, everything that you touch or feel, everything you see, etc., the five senses, is recorded in your brain from the moment your brain reaches a certain point, including before you're born. It's all in some lobe somewhere.
Probably the reticular activating system, the RAS, if I were to guess.
Well,
I don't know.
The point is the ability to recall this information, these sensations, the smells, the taste, the words. But every single thing that involves the five senses is recorded somewhere in the brain. And your ability to recall will determine, like, your IQ, your ability to, so they said, most people use like 6 or 7% of their brain. Like they said, Einstein used maybe 10 or 12% of his brain. Isaac Newton, they say, maybe the smartest man in the history of the world. Nikola Tesla, you know what I mean? These guys use 10, 12% of the brain. But the ability to cross over and access all that information, imagine how useful that would be.
And explain it in simple terms.
Right,
I talked to guys, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
no.
I had a client who, we actually became friends. And after a point, he's an older guy. He kind of gave me some mentorship, and he said things, and he put it in simple terms. I was like, holy cow, I'd never thought of that. And I would just call him just to pick his brain. So not only was he very intellectual, he talked to you in regular speak.
I love that.
And if you can do that and you can put it in that sense, I think that's what the key is, to get your point across, especially when you're talking to an audience or you're talking to an employees or trying to do a business deal.
I've been called a plain-speaking man.
Yeah.
I talk.
Saves time.
Well, you know what? I tell you what happened, and you'll understand this. So I go down to Wall Street, and at the time it was very difficult to get into one of these top training programs. There were two in the world that were great, E.F. Hutton, Merrill Lynch. Those were the two, and that was it. And in New York, they started this, it was class like 110, and it was nationwide. They had 150 people involved. But from New York, they only brought in 12 people. That's it. So everybody was a lawyer, a CPA, or an MBA, and I was selling ladies' handbags.
Yeah. I can kind of relate.
So I'm the only one of the 12. I talked my way in. Accessed a couple of connections.
Story of my life.
Right.
Talking my way in.
Me too.
Story of my life.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
And so they were all. I had a suit, but these were sophisticated people. They were literally lawyers.
Yeah,
they wanted to get the brokerage license. They were accountants because Wall Street had just met Main Street. End of the 70s, beginning of the 80s. That was the beginning of cold calling. Telemarketing securities began then. There was they called it Lehman 7. And, one of those guys became one of my mentors, and I got to meet almost all of the Lehman 7. That's how far back I go in this business.
Was Dick Fold one of them?
Say it again?
Dick Fold?
No, he came in later.
Yeah.
But the Lehman 7 were just a bunch of guys that was sitting around the boardroom waiting for customers to come in. Because at those times, it was an ivory tower. Somebody with money would make an appointment, and you'd be broker of the day, this and that. They spread it around. You weren't allowed to call. There was no telemarketing prior to the end of the 70s.
Yeah.
So Wall Street was the purview. It was of just the rich, the famous, the wealthy, etc. And all of a sudden, these guys were always sitting around and waiting to get a customer. And they called up the FTC, Federal Trade Commission, and asked, why can't we sell securities over the telephone? And they began this process, which became the approval to do telemarketing, under certain circumstances, et cetera.
And it took off.
And so for the first time in history, Wall Street found Main Street. And it was a great time. So now I'm in this is 1983. I'm in this training program, and we start to practice cold calling, just getting leads and all that. And these people are lawyers. They're CPAs. I don't even know what a stock or a bond really is.
Same thing with me. I had no idea. I mean, I had no
debt
idea.
Security, equity, yield to maturity.
Yeah.
I mean, this is agency. This is principal. I mean, what's the price? Is there no commission? I was so out of my league.
Yeah,
But
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
I passed the Series 7, and I'm a sales guy. I'm pretty good because I really like people, and the skill sets that you said about being able to sort of unravel a persona. I'm good at that, in the real world. But now I got to pick up the telephone, and we start cold calling. And the first two times I was cold calling, I actually hung up. I got a guy on the phone, and I just hung up. I was shaking. I was so nervous. I'm not that guy. I'm not a nervous guy.
Yeah.
I never perspire. When I was wrestling, I was always making weight. My body's like, it just doesn't. I don't perspire really.
So you got what they call in the business phone fear.
Well, my hands are literally wet. I'm so nervous because I left the business. I told the whole world I was going to be a stockbroker, and I'm going to cold call and get paid. Now I have to actually do it, and I'm scared. I'm not really familiar with scared. I get anxious a lot, and so I start calling. And I start to, I'm trying to sound sophisticated and worldly and classy and all these different things.
I know.
I'm trying to find my style, let's say.
Right.
And when I'm not calling, I'm listening. I'm walking up and down the road. They have all advanced sales training where they got the whole 130 people together, and we're all in
with
a
a
giant
long
room.
cord on the phone.
Well, yes, and we had tables up at the front where they had experienced seasoned brokers, and when you got a guy on the phone, they raise your hand and they pick up and they listen in and they grade you.
Yeah.
And this went 2 weeks, 10 hours a day. But the point is, I heard guys that were so slick, spoke such beautiful, the phraseology, the verbosity, the verbiage. It was elegant. I could never be that. No matter how hard I tried, I realized.
Well, that wasn't your style.
Well, at the time, I did it. I wanted to be that guy, but I realized I can't compete. And so what I did was I went the other way. I got on the phone and I just talked to you like I would talk to you now, like I would talk to you in a nightclub. What's shaking? How you doing? I mean, it's really nice to meet you, Ace. But with sincerity and just being me.
I think it's a more effective way, actually.
And what happened was, they never saw me coming. People would get on the phone and they would object because they thought I couldn't handle it. But, I was able to respond to any objection. I mean, I wouldn't even ask a question unless I knew the answer. I became I studied sales. I studied all the greats, the greatest of the greats, the guys that designed sales systems from Andrew Carnegie, to you name it. It was my thing. And just sort of dumbing it down. I'm a regular guy. Now,
what you'll find out is everyone's a regular guy.
Well,
so
some people are really a little bit sophisticated.
Well, I'll tell you what.
I'm just a regular kid.
I've learned three things, and I've done business in a few places around the world. You need three things, and you'll get any deal done regardless of religion, race, gender. You need three things. Number one, everyone needs to feel respected, especially if you're dealing with a man on the other side. That's how we operate. That's our language. Number two, you'll quickly find out the majority of people aren't looking for trouble. They just want to mind their own business and go about their lives. And number three, everybody wants to be able to provide for their families. If you hit all three of those, you'll get a deal done. Doesn't matter where you're at.
I love that. I hope you guys are listening. This is that's $1 million nugget right there.
That I discovered on my own. I didn't read that. I just kind of put 1, 2, and 3 together.
Correct.
That's all you need.
We're actually pros.
Yeah.
You made a lot of calls in your life?
A lot of calls? Yeah. A lot.
Did you make 300 dials a day?
More than that sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes we would cold call at 5:30 in the morning, sometimes stay all the way till 8.
I love
and
it.
it got so repetitive. But
8 at night, not 5.
Yeah, 8 at night,
not
8 at
5:30 in the morning to 8 in the morning.
Yeah, but it got so repetitive, and things have changed too.
But you used to get leads and all, qualified leads.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
got your own leads.
Yes.
Eventually, you had a caller, but you.
Yeah, I would call them, and you quickly find out what's a good lead and what's not.
But you would get your own leads.
Yes.
Actually, and that's when you
Cold
really
call.
get your best customers.
Yeah, cold calling, and
Do
then
you ever get 10 leads a day?
Yes, and then I would tell everyone I got 10 leads, and then the old school guys, I used to get 40 a day. And I don't know if they're messing with me or not, but it's a lot more difficult than that. Things have changed. Technology has changed. The consumer has changed. But those are good times. They're very memorable times in my life. Yeah.
So, have you always been in the Miami area, in Miami?
Yes, I've lived in Miami my entire life.
Your whole Wall Street career?
Yes.
Vineyard as well?
Yes, so those are all in California. My office is in Coral Gables for the wine business.
You have a separate business,
Yeah.
separate office. You go there occasionally?
Yeah, sure. It's 3 blocks from my place, and just walk over.
You're three blocks from where?
From where I live,
Okay, you live
in Coral Gables.
in Coral Gables, in the Gables,
Yeah.
and the Wall Street office is
It's in Boca.
in Boca.
Yeah, so I drive up here a few times a week. It's an absolute
Wow.
nightmare, But look,
Do you have to come in
I'd rather come in at least those times.
a couple times?
A couple times a week, because you need to be in touch with things,
I agree.
But it saves. Look, it's a 2-hour ride each way.
I know. I had a studio in Miami, and I was going at least once or twice a week. I didn't mind. I'm going tomorrow for a meeting, but it's as long as you can make calls from the car, I use that as an opportunity to make my calls.
But you need the infrastructure at the office.
No
to come
question,
in,
no question,
yeah,
bro.
But it does give you a little bit of a break not having to come in every single day per se.
There were a lot of amazing things that you shared with us today. Nuggets,
Thank you.
I call. Nelson, I hope you're going to extract the right things. Don't leave it all to AI.
Shout out to Nelson. Thank you for putting me on.
What message do you want to leave for young entrepreneurs?
You know what? That's a pretty interesting question. I don't know if I ever thought of that, because I've always been so much about, what do I have to do? But look, there's one thing. I got it. Never mind, I got it.
Well, you gave us the 3.
Yeah. So this
Close the
is
deal.
the main thing that I don't know for what reason. And if you do this, I hope you're watching too, because I hope the market doesn't forgive you. The number one thing to entrepreneurs is keep your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you're going to call back, do it.
Correct.
We have a saying in Miami. We call it the Miami Special. You talk to all these guys, they court you, want to do business, we have an idea. Every now and then one of them sounds like a good idea.
Correct.
Right? And then you say, all right, let's do it. And they disappear.
Crickets, I get it.
And so what I'm telling the audience is, if you do that, stop doing that, because we're gonna point you all out. Number 2 is, if that happens to you, what you have to do is not reward those people with more business. Don't talk to them, eliminate them. Once they have their talk with their kids why they can't pay for Little League Baseball or why they can't go to Orlando, they're going to have to self-reflect. Stop doing that. Start being a part of that nonsense. If you can't do it, say you can't do it. It's a gentleman's sport business, I believe. Just say, look, I can't do it now, but I could do it probably 6 months. We don't do that. I can do that. But stop disappearing. And then stop definitely reappearing and then needing a favor. Because I'm going to call you out.
So I would just want to say this is so relevant. So there are two brothers, both entrepreneurs, both making their way through the business world, the life, all that. One is about 28, one is 31, whatever. And I just recently gave them, they needed the advice that you just gave. There's a very famous book I recommend to people that are on their way or trying to get somewhere in this business world and in life. And if I notice they're deficient in one of them, I say I recommend this book. There's an audio book. It's $13, $14. Just buy it. It's like giving you $1 million. Don Miguel Ruiz wrote the book. It's called The 4 Agreements.
Oh, I love that book. Yeah, I know exactly which one. I've read it a couple times.
You keep your word.
Yeah.
You show up. You understand.
Yes.
These are simple things.
Just do it. Yeah.
And but I know a lot of young men, as I'm building my media company here, that they don't keep their word.
Look, once your integrity, everyone doesn't trust you in the marketplace, you're done. So
You're toast.
Yeah, you're done.
Toast.
So it's if you have a good reputation, people just go to you. But the way you keep that is by having a difficult conversation. Just being honest. Look, I can't do it. Most of the time, the other person's going to say something like, "Yeah, okay, all right. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for not screwing me or not keeping me hanging." And all right, but I appreciate it. And then at least you're still a source, or you're still someone they can go to. But once you disappear, you're with me. You're done.
Right.
You're never coming back.
One thing about me, I communicate, and that's another thing. You have to be able to communicate. I notice that not even the younger generation, but people just 20 years younger than me, like yourself, they don't pick up the phone. They text. Everything's text, and even my kids. I call everybody, and a lot of times now I get this: "Is everything okay?" Like why are you calling? I'm just calling to say hi. I want to hear your voice.
I do that as well. Yeah.
Right. Everybody else is texting, DMing, IMing. I mean, it's just everything is like, let's type something in. It's easier. No, for me, I want to call you. I like to see you. Right? I'm that kind of guy. I'm old school. Right. We didn't have this shit when I was growing up. I mean, it was no one had a cell phone. If I had to call you, it was because I was home, and we only had one phone in the house, and it was a rotary dial phone, and usually my mother was on it. But I had to go see you if I wanted to interact with you. And, we developed certain skills that way.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you something, and you hit the nail on the head, too. I noticed, too, so I'll tell you a quick story. So I get a client, right? It's a big client. It's a referral. I go to his house, and this guy lives in a ridiculous mansion on the water with a yacht in the back that had a helicopter.
I like it.
And so
why not?
I have the only suit I had back then was just 3 times too big on me, but it's the only one I had, right? So I'm talking, and this guy's asking me questions on what to do. I'm like, "You're asking me what to do? No, what are you doing?" Because I want to know. I mean, I'll literally come mow the lawn here. But what I noticed is the way he did business, and the bigger guys, the way they do business, they want to know who you are. Correct. They want to know what you're about. If you do business in the Middle East, the first time it's not even about business. They just want to know about your family. They want to know about how you move. And now you're a trusted source, right? And now they do business with you.
Or not.
So, or not, right? They can screen you out as well. Right. But that's the way real business is done. This whole thing about, I can do this, I can do that. Anybody saying I, kids, if you're watching at home, anybody says I, that's not the guy. The guy who's actually calling the shots says we.
100%.
Fun fact.
Another one is nobody wants to buy anything, but everybody wants to own something.
Right.
That's a big little tidbit. Don't try and sell me anything. If
Yeah,
you want me to own something with you, okay.
And also, you have to also think what's in it for the other guy.
Always.
The other person.
Nobody's interested.
I have these people come to me and with these proposals. They want me to do all these things.
Right.
However, if the stars align and it's a full moon, then I get paid. No. Yeah. No, the answer is no.
So, I love this. This is something that I teach, part of my thing. I say, what's your favorite sign in this room? What's your favorite sign? Look around.
Okay, let's see.
What's your favorite thing?
Honestly, I would say something. I don't know if anyone says it. I would say the cameras, and I'll tell you why.
Well, let me just. Yeah. I'm going to interrupt you real quick because you're going to love this. Yeah. You're going to use this now, and I'm going to allow you to borrow it.
All right.
The exit sign.
Yeah.
Because when I come into a room, I want to know how the hell I'm going to get out.
Okay.
When I put my money in an investment, I'm not a. I know you're going to have fun. You're going to do all these different things. Mm-hmm. Where's my exit? I want to know how much I'm going to get, when I'm going to get it, and what can I expect? The exit in a deal strategy. Mm-hmm. So one of the reasons why I've been successful, you asked me, did I really do 140 IPOs? True story. Mm-hmm. That's not me saying that, by the way. That was the United States government in a federal courtroom. It's part of the transcript. Because if I show you a deal, it could be a 30-page document. Mm-hmm. On the first page, you're going to see the exit strategy. I'm going to show you that exit strategy. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, if you're a smart guy, you're going to be saying, I know you're going to take my money. I know you're going to build a great business. I know you're going to have a lot of fun. I know you're going to buy better suits and probably wear a Rolex next time I see you. And, you can hang out with, nicer women and nicer places and drink better booze and all these different things.
What's in it for you?
Where's my money?
Yeah.
What am I getting?
Yeah.
People forget that.
Right.
I hope you do build a great company. I hope you do produce this movie. But what's in it for me? Where's my benefit?
Right.
People don't understand this basic tenet of business. So I say, I'm going to show you the exit sign when I show you the door into the room. It's just a little thing that, I find very useful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right, so now,
Very philosophical.
quickly, if you could speak to your younger self, just arrived in the United States, obviously you were a kid.
As a kid, yeah. It's like,
What advice would you give him? Looking back, young Ace.
Yeah. So it's a saying that I always tell myself in my mind. Just keep going.
Okay, I was going to
Just
say,
keep
take a
going.
fucking shower.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
Spare yourself to beating. But just keep going. I love it.
Just
I
keep
love
going.
it. You're such a alpha dog, bro.
You think so?
It's-
Thank you, man. I
It's
appreciate
really,
it.
this is such a treat for me.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
a
you.
treat for me.
I'm very grateful to be on the show, too, so thank you as
listen, I am just feel like, Andrea said, this guy's going to bring a lot of energy.
So, interesting story. Andrea, shout out if you're watching us.
Andrea, we love you. Andrea Ocampo, what a woman.
I literally, this is a true story. I don't know if you think what you think about law of attraction, all that.
Yep.
I was watching some of your clips on YouTube 2 days ago, and I saw one of her. I don't know who she is, never seen her. For some reason, it stuck out. My friend Sammy called and said, "Hey, I want to introduce you to someone. I'm going to call me on FaceTime." I did, and it's her. I was like, "Holy cow!"
This is unrelated, though.
This is yesterday.
But you didn't. You didn't
I
get the
don't
heads
know
up.
who she was. I
You just
just
happened to be looking at some of my clips, and then
for some reason, I remembered her.
well,
Right.
for some reason, she's
Yeah.
a beautiful woman.
So my friend introduced me. I was like, "Hey, I just saw you on a clip of a podcast, and I got to be on the podcast tomorrow." I was like, "No way!" And
So crazy.
so wild.
Yeah, I got
So
this
wild.
text from her today. I
Yeah.
was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And and then Nelson's calling on the other line. Listen, I want you to know, he's a great guy. He's a really great guy. I love this guy.
Nelson's a good guy too. Thank you, Nelson, for setting this up.
Yeah, and I'm like, I got two people on the phone talking about you. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I feel like the universe is talking to me. Do you understand?
Yeah, I feel you.
In the Kabbalah, it says God's going to show you, give you an opportunity every day of your life.
I'll tell you.
And one road is going to lead to a blessing, and one road is going to lead to a judgment. And, every day of your life. And when you really examine your life, you start to see these things. Some of them seem so stupid.
You start noticing things. I'll tell you what. I have a vision board that I have on my phone digitally. And,
I love it,
and
bro.
I have like this stuff, all right, mansions, a nice house, a nice family.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, to get even crazier. So I have a specific type of woman that I like, right?
Tell us. Give us an example.
A classy, elegant.
Okay.
I like very, laid back women because I'm not laid back at all. I'm very intense.
Right.
So
You need a listener.
Yeah, right. Someone
Me
my
too.
my opposite. And
What about
so
height?
this is
height?
No, height's not a big deal.
She could be 5 feet?
Yeah, I don't
5'5"?
Yeah, I don't care.
5'10"?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm just wondering if you have a
Doesn't
preference.
matter, right?
What about hair color?
doesn't matter. I think I like blondes better, but not necessarily.
Okay, well, Nelson likes black hair.
Yeah.
Black hair on a girl.
So-
Me, I could go any which way, but I've been mostly with blondes.
I'll
Attracted to the
tell
blonde.
you, because it's about to
Eyes,
go-
blue eyes, brown eyes.
Doesn't matter.
All right.
You just know she
But
has to be classy and elegant.
Classy and elegant, and
and laid back. And,
maybe
and,
an empath that's tuned
Yeah.
into your emotions.
So I'll tell you because it's about to go in a rabbit hole. So I start dating this girl, right? Break up. It doesn't go anywhere. So I'm looking.
How long?
It was short. We
An
had
hour? A week?
No, it was short.
I'm
It was,
playing.
it was a short time, and
Okay.
I don't want to give stuff away. So
Right.
year later, I'm going through my vision board. I had pictures of her from 3 years before. I don't know how I found it. I like, the style. Like, all right, that was pretty wild.
That is wild.
Yeah, and I've had a bunch of conversations with people that I've had.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Why'd you break up?
We had a.
You don't want to get into the details. Okay, very
But,
interesting. I mean, do you use any? Some of my friends now. I'm single now for the first time in 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Literally 30 years. Do you do any of these dating sites? Have you tried any
I
like
know.
Tinder or Hinge or anything?
Nah, it's a complete waste of time.
I was with a friend
Yeah,
the other night. He loves it. He met this beautiful woman.
Real did he?
I mean, he's my age, 66, and he shows me the picture of this new girlfriend. I'm like, wow, super good looking,
Right.
long blonde hair. Mark Sachs, what's shaking, bro?
What's up?
And big hedge fund guy. and this woman's really beautiful. He goes, she's 54. I said, get the fuck out of here.
Is she? Well, it's South Florida, so everyone everyone brings their A
and
game.
you take care of yourself, and you live a good life, and you can tend to between Ozempic and
it's a big thing now. Everyone's doing
everybody and all the injections, Botox and fillers, and I mean it's like these women have a fountain of youth.
I found the best ones are friends and family. When they introduce you to somebody, because they know what your temperament is, what your preferences are. Everything on social media is a complete waste of time.
Okay, very interesting. All right, so you feel very strong about these kind of things.
Yeah,
and
so
you're a handsome, good-looking, successful guy, and you're in Miami, which people tell me.
Yeah.
I don't know because I've been out of it long enough that Miami it's the best place in the world to be single.
So it is
most beautiful women.
Yeah, but that gets old too.
Everything gets old. Yeah.
It gets old. I would much rather have a wife and family.
Yeah, I had the most beautiful wife and family, and I tell you that I treasure it more than anything in the world.
Good, and I think it's important for a man to have a wife too, and kids.
Yes, not just a wife. She's my anchor. She's my best friend, and all these different things. So when I'm married now, but we're still best friends. She's a partner in business, and a great mother, great friend, just a great.
She's very pleasant on the phone. The times I talk to her,
great person.
Yes,
and if you've seen her pictures, you'll see she's still stone cold.
Yeah.
Stone cold gorgeous, Now I got some questions for you.
Go ahead.
These are your thoughts on a few things that will help reveal a little bit more. Pretend this is for like a dating show.
Yeah.
Did growing up in Miami shape your political views?
Absolutely. Two things. Number one, you're leaving a country that's infested with communism. You see the BS, what happened.
I can't even
imagine.
imagine.
No nonsense, right? But
I can't imagine.
But at the same time, growing up, I always looked up to the guys who were like the soldiers, who defended freedom, who are the good guys.
I love it. Yep.
That shaped me a lot. I mean, I remember all the war movies, all the documentaries. Like, holy cow, these guys are studs. These guys are the good guys. The bad, not the bad guys. We don't like them around here.
Yep.
So I would say but it's constantly in your face. What communism actually is.
So it does shape you a great deal. Your background that way. Have you ever personally lobbied for a cause?
Not in the sense that you would think, because I think lobbying, going to D.C. and so on. There's a couple of charities that I help out.
That's lobbying. No, to me, that's lobbying.
Okay, so
like this, Andrea's trying to get me to do this Lymphoma and Leukemia Society.
I'll tell you what.
And that's a really good thing, I think.
There's one that I know it's very well actually. Pretty familiar. I've supported him for a number of years. It's called His House Children's Home.
Nice.
And basically, it's an orphanage. And you talk about getting a raw deal in life. All the kids are basically society's forgotten, and it's an orphanage. I mean, they're never going to celebrate a birthday with their family. That's never happening, and it comes down to two things. At least in my experience, from what I'm noticing, parents had one of two issues: mental health or substance abuse. That's it. That's what's destroying families, et cetera, and the kids are getting the brunt of it. So it's a cause that I do try to champion as much as I can. We do a toy drive for them every year, support their gala, try to bring donations. Let
me tell you how important that is. Can I tell you? Last week, I had a guy, a beautiful man, 6'5", 260 pounds. Guy works out every day of his life. When his mother was pregnant at a very young age with a an inappropriate man. And she hid the pregnancy from her family. No one knew she was even pregnant. Right up until she had the baby. And as soon as the baby was born, literally 1 day, 2 days, whatever, she dropped him off at an orphanage.
Was that him?
Yeah. Carlton, Washington, bro. I love you, dude.
Powerful story, my friend.
What a story. What a man. Raised in foster care. Today he's a multimillionaire.
Good. So what you'll see is you get a raw deal growing up. Right. Two things happen. You continue the path, and there's a smaller percentage that go just complete opposite, go
Correct.
balls to the wall, success.
It's
Prove
really
something.
interesting that you brought that up. And this guy sat here literally I mean, have we released that, John? I don't even think we've released that. You brought it to the Google Drive, but I have a guy that's asked me for the file just 2 minutes before we started here today.
I'll make sure I take a look at it.
Carlton Washington Jr., forever young, anti-aging, 22 corporate stores, 61 franchises. He's a founder. He sold a majority portion to private equity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a guy. I mean, when you hear a story like that.
I love it.
Raised in foster care, right? He spent 10 years trying to track down his mother. Eventually did, and she turned out to be a bad person. And she said she basically gave him a cold shoulder. Then she heard that he was rich, and she asked him for money. And he was like, that's it. And you, 1 year old, coming over on a boat from Cuba, raised in
Mariel Boatlift.
in Little Havana, etc. So, what we're showing to the world, and it is being shown to me, that it doesn't matter your circumstances. This kid was dropped into foster care 1 day old. He had no love, like you say, no family. He eventually was adopted and all that by a real family, and you had a family, I guess. But your circumstances. I don't like people that make excuses. I don't like people that don't want to own their own failure, their own mishaps, etc. Everyone's happy to own their own success. I give all the glory to God today, and
it's important.
And the reasons that I have problems and issues, whatever they've been, is because of my own hand, my own arrogance.
There's a lot of truth to that.
My own narcissism, different things like that. But I'll never blame circumstances, because that's bull. You're just lying to yourself. So that's interesting. You have lobbied for an unbelievable cause, as Carlton Washington would attest to it.
It's a great cause. I mean, they're literally doing God's work.
Imagine it. This guy is a multimillionaire today, employs I don't know how many, 10,000 people in his stores and all that, and it's because he had people. There was a foster care system, as flawed as it might be. It worked. And so I really, to me, that has empowered me now to look at that system a little bit with a little bit more alacrity, meaning I'm more willing to maybe lobby for them, et cetera. Do you think the U.S. should tighten its immigration policies?
Like it's kind of difficult. You know what I mean? It's like
you're a citizen.
Yeah, I am. Obviously,
did you come here legally?
No, legally. You
came legally.
Yeah.
So you had family went through all that.
Yeah. So look, I'm all for legal immigration and so on, but the illegal stuff that's happening at the border, probably not. So.
Right, out of control, right?
Yeah, it's there's a lot of bullshit that's coming through. Nobody wants that either. I'm all for due process, and this is the land of opportunity.
Right. My parents we're all immigrants in America. Yeah. My parents came through Ellis Island and had to go through a lot of bullshit, but became legal citizens, and I just don't understand the idea of open borders and just allowing.
That's no good. No, it's no good for no country. But I can kind of relate why you want to come to this country.
I get it.
But you can't be a scumbag, and you got to be vetted, and
you should
so
be,
on and
right.
so on.
We should have some standards, right? That's why they call it illegal or undocumented.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever disagreed publicly with a politician that you might have supported?
Look, you can't agree with everybody. It's kind of like it's like when you're in a relationship with a woman. The main stuff you got to agree with, but you're not going to agree on everything. So yeah, sure.
So I've been told, I don't know if it's true or not, that you are politically connected.
Well, yeah, it's just.
I heard a rumor. I don't know if it's true or not, but Donald Trump and I spoke recently, and he told me that you're coming to the inauguration. Is that true?
Yeah, I'll be there for the inauguration. I'll be there this weekend.
In what capacity? Just
the inauguration. There's a little bit of a gala going on that evening.
Right.
So I'll be there as well.
They'll be drinking your wine?
No, but I'm certainly going to be having a good time there.
Okay.
Maybe drinking some wine.
Where are you staying when you go?
I gotta check what hotel it is with my my assistant, but somewhere in Washington.
Yeah, some very. I have a relationship with a hotel. It's like one of the most famous. And
which one is it?
My friend has a studio. It has a studio, a real broadcast studio. They're offering me a special relationship to come and do something at the studio. It's right across from the White House. Have you ever attended a high-profile political dinner or gala.
Yeah. Yeah, a few of
So
them.
what is your relationship to politics in Miami? I'm just curious.
Nothing. I just kind of talk my way in. People inviting me, and I'm making friends.
Someone said you're a player and you have political connections.
Look, it's like this is how I feel. You know, we live in this great nation. It's just all hands on deck. Everyone's got to do their part to keep this thing moving forward. Right?
I love it.
Everyone. It doesn't. You don't have to be a Medal of Honor winner. You don't have to kick a door down somewhere overseas, but you do have to do your part. Maybe that means serving politically. Maybe that means being a school teacher. Maybe that means being a firefighter. Maybe that means joining the military. But you do have to do your part to keep this thing going. That's
Have you
what I
ever
believe.
considered running for political office?
You know what? It's been brought up several times, and as of right now, the answer is no. But
I would support you.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate
No.
that.
I'm telling you, you would be an amazing mayor, senator, governor. No,
Thank
listen,
you.
I'm being
Thank you.
serious. I'm
Yeah.
being serious with you. I mean, you are. I don't want to say a prototype, but you represent a certain sector or
Mm-hmm.
section. You have a certain grasp and understanding of finance, of business, of community,
Yeah.
of family.
Right.
You got the look, 'cause, today
Well,
with
it's
TV, you
kinda-
got to be a good looking. You have a beautiful smile.
Thank you.
You
So
have great energy, all these good things.
thank you. This is the best way to explain it. Imagine right now, there's a stereo playing in your head, right?
I have committees going on.
No, but there's a stereo playing in your
Okay.
head, and that stereo represents a tremendous sense of duty. And no matter where I drive, that stereo follows me, and I can't shut it off. That's the best way to explain it.
I love it.
Yeah, a
But-
tremendous sense of duty. Yeah.
Will you be? So you'll be at the inauguration. Are you attending it with an official?
There's going to be
Miami?
people I'm attending with. Yeah,
It's like a
I'm
group
not
from
at
Miami.
liberty
I know
to
you
say,
can't tell, but it's good. It's always good to give a shout out.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's a certain delegation and so on that I'll be at the inauguration with, and then obviously the gala that.
You're not going to be in the cabinet now.
No,
I'm
as
not-
far
I'm
as
not talking
as
to
far as I
Secretary
know,
of State.
no. But I'll tell you what, I wouldn't mind being an ambassador. That looks like a pretty good gig.
It's
but,
a great gig.
Yeah,
I
but
know a lot about it, by the way.
Yeah.
I know a lot about it. I had a lot of. So Forbes wrote a story on me
Mm-hmm.
in 2005. So just so you know, so Forbes has published about 15 stories about me. Just so you know, in the magazine and also online, a lot of Forbes.com. And they haven't been terrible. The first one was a hatchet job. It came out in May of 2005. I was supposed to be on the cover. But that very month, Bill Gates decided he was no longer going to be the CEO of Microsoft. And so they had to put the new CEO on the cover. Steve, what's his name? He owns the
Steve Ballmer.
Steve Ballmer. He owns the LA Clippers.
Yeah.
And so they did a 3 or 4 page spread in the magazine with pictures in my office. And the title of it was Ross Mandell's Back with a Flair, Selling Stock and Buying Politicians.
That's not good.
But it's all true. That was true, but it's said in a way that's meant to, like you say, it sounds bad.
Yeah, sure.
But I was selling a lot of stock, and I was buying politicians. So I had United States Senator on my board, the United States Congressman on my board. Tom Homan. I don't know if you know the name Tom Homan. He's the new what they call border czar on television.
Yeah.
He's in charge of immigration. He's head of DHS, right? Tommy Homan was the number 2 man at DHS when the Department of Homeland Security was first started, biggest agency in the history of this country. He worked for me, Tom.
Okay.
At the time, he was number 2 man in Homeland Security. He was on the board of one of my companies for 4 years. And so, I had a relationship with him, obviously, a very good relationship. Never said a bad word about me. I used to dine in the Senate dining room
No kidding.
once a month for several years. And I did a lot of fundraisers and for a lot of very, very big names and everything else. And, one party seemed to favor me. And therefore, when the other party got involved, they came after me. And that was part of my problem, just so you know.
Yeah.
Because in New York, Elliot Spitzer was the U.S. attorney at one point, became the governor. And then he was ousted as governor because of this whole
thing that happened, right?
whole high-profile thing with the call girls, and he was client number 9 and all these different things. But he was a very aggressive U.S. attorney rooting out crime in the Wall Street business, in the Wall Street arena. and they looked
I
at
remember. Yeah.
and they looked at me, and his staff got in touch with me and said, "We've looked at you, and you were controversial, but you've cleaned up your act, and we're proud of you." And Elliot would like to talk. So I had lunch with Elliot Spitzer, and I ended up writing checks and having fundraisers for him, and I helped him win the governorship of the state of New York. I was one of the guys. I was invited to all the places. I'm in pictures with him and United States Senator, three-term United States Senator from South Dakota, Larry Pressler, and he's quoted this Forbes story. But to make a long story short, I see you. You would be ideal as in politics representing Miami.
Yeah, thank you. It's something that's
think you
been
should consider
commented
it.
before, but
I've actually met the mayor at Hillstones. One of my friends was good friends with him before he became the mayor. He's a doctor. He has a very big practice in South Florida. But I mean, it's interesting. Have you ever been asked for political advice?
No, not political advice.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's my realm to give advice as far as politics. I mean, I have my own opinions,
Right.
but I don't know if I'm considered an authority in that.
Well, you're going to the inauguration, so that says something, right? The last inauguration I went to was 1980. It was Ronald Reagan's inauguration. It's crazy. Social media. Thoughts?
It's horrible for relationships. Very bad. Very, very bad.
I agree with that.
Another thing is people have to understand it's a curated picture of ideas that people are.
It's highly curated. Great word.
Highly curated. It gets in the way of a lot of things,
No question.
It definitely, distracts you for sure. In fact, if I'm not careful, I'll get distracted. I'm going to be honest with you. So, it's something where there's a purpose for it. Use it. Don't let it use you.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a great tagline, bro. What are you talking about? Yeah. That's great.
Well, it's practical.
It's it's great. It sums up quite a bit.
Yeah.
It can be useful, but don't let it use you. I get that. America, this country, our country, is it more divided now than ever before?
I got a funny feeling things are going to get back in order pretty soon. And we have to look at what's going on politically around the world, geopolitical events.
It's frightening.
Yeah, it is.
It's really frightening.
All you have to do is travel. That's all you got to do. But
you talk to people and you understand how they feel about America. See, in America, we're corrupted by the news. This is why raw media is established. Why Joe Rogan's doing what he's doing.
But
I want a message to get out about what's really happening and what's not happening.
Right. So, the current political climate in this country states that nothing's worth fighting for, dying for. Anybody who's a patriot or loves his country knows how foolish and how asinine that cowardly mindset is. So hopefully that gets fixed pretty soon.
Pete Hegseth is going to be they said he did very well yesterday. I looked at all the clips and the highlights. That's what he did all morning, really. And he's going to be confirmed, and he's going to change the Department of Defense.
We've had a bunch of
we
just got to
get back. Of fucking morons in there. Just idiots, morons, people that are undeserving. They pick people, I think on purpose, that were unqualified. Right. I think the whole cabinet was picked that way. That's my feeling. My feeling is that America's been invaded, and I think there's trouble coming. And I said this publicly. I'm going to say it again to all of you. I don't know there's going to be a peaceful transition of power. The FBI and another major law enforcement, the CIA, announced 2 times last night and this morning that they believe there's a highly likely probable cause that there's going to be more like what happened in New Orleans, driving cars into crowds.
Have to stay vigilant.
I'm very concerned about the inauguration, bro. I just want you to know. I'm very concerned with the drones that have been around. There's something going on. The government lies. The media lies. They're all in bed together. They control. It's what the Nazis did. Half of Germany thought they were winning the war when the Russians and the Americans invaded Germany. They didn't know that they were losing. That's how, that Nazi playbook has been used in America now. And it's horrible. You don't get the truth. It's terrible what's going on. And the fires in L.A., you think that's an accident?
I don't know.
It was highly organized.
Yeah.
Crazy.
There's definitely some clips that make it suspicious, but I don't have enough knowledge on it to.
Do you think business and politics should remain separate?
Interesting. I think, I think once you get to a certain point in business politics, you're going to be dealing with it. And one way
I
or
get
another.
that.
You know, whether it's at the local, state, local
I get it.
government level or higher. But you have to, it's just like anything else. It's something else that if you are in business, you have to know how to navigate and so on. And vice versa. I don't think you can. It's not,
I
it's not
agree.
up to me to separate it.
I agree with you. I think it's a bad question, but my team does research, and then we circulate these questions, this information, and that survived the final. So, nobody. You're very because of the degree of regulation. The things we can't really talk about and get into.
Yeah.
But I wanted the world to see Ace Cruz.
Thank you.
I want the world to get to know you. Worthy. You're
Thank
a
you.
special fucking guy. I mean,
Thank you.
soup to nuts. You're well put together. Like you're a man. You're just a human being. That's why they put erasers on pencils. We're imperfect. Where's Ace Cruz in 5 years? Where do you see yourself?
Look, hopefully, I have some plans. So, interesting thing about me, at no point in the game when I was growing up did I ever feel confused or, you ever hear people say, well, I don't know what I want to do in my life? That was never me. I always knew exactly. Right. I want to do this, I want to be this, and so on. So, hopefully, like in 5 years, hopefully, I would very much like to have a family. Would
you like to have children?
Yes.
So, you're shopping maybe for a wife? Or
I'm very open to it, yeah.
So maybe we should hang out. And I'm really good at recruiting women. I just have a knack for that kind of thing.
Okay.
And what a product you are.
I'll take you up. So
what a product you are.
Thank you.
It's an easy sale.
So
ladies, I'm accepting applications on behalf of Ace Cruz.
Thank you. Talk to my agent.
You got to get past me.
So, I'd like to, keep doing my part as little as possible or as big as possible to ensure that, our nation keeps moving forward in the right direction. I'd like to obviously expand my business horizons and solidify relationships and so on and build more. Eventually, what my ultimate game plan is leaving a legacy behind.
That's my plan.
Where, not so much have a big house. Yeah, that's nice. More like where they name libraries and bridges and institutions after
something that you leave behind that you're proud of.
Right, and have your family name actually
100%.
be recognizable.
I get that.
Right. That's what I think my ultimate goal is.
Okay. You're 46?
Yes, I am.
You're at perfect age to get started.
All right.
Ojala wine. Where's Ojala wine?
So
5 years.
I brought, hopefully, it's interesting because I got to tell you, so our trademark, if you don't know, the audience at home, if you don't know what Ojala means, it means hopefully. So you can't use this word in Spanish without, if I want to say, I hope you win the lottery, you would say, Ojala. Hope your kids are healthy, Ojala. Or I hope you win the lottery, Ojala, right? So no wish can conclude or begin without using the word Ojala,
I
right?
didn't know that.
It means hopefully or God willing.
I love it.
We have it trademarked. So it's a very highly sought out after trademark. In fact, we're constantly having a lawyer up. So if you're watching this, we're going to come after every single one of you like we're going to continue to do. So basically, I don't know. I've had 2 buyout offers, which was crazy. It's like one guy said, "I don't even to look at your sales. I'm going to give you a check for X amount." It's like, whoa. But then at that point,
to call me.
Yeah, at that point, I was like, "Oh, it's going to be worth $19 kajillion to you."
Right.
Entrepreneurial. But we got some things in the works. Things we're negotiating some things. I don't want to give it all away.
No, you can't.
Every time you talk, it never happens. But hopefully that. I'd be open to an exit, just like you mentioned. Where's that exit sign? It's over there, right?
Yes,
it's right by the bottles. Correct. So I'm open to that as well. I'm open to growing the brand, but the wine business brings joy to the world, so I really like that. People are very happy to see you when you bring wine.
No, I'm thrilled. I can't. I really appreciate that. Just so you know. And anything else the audience should know about Ace Cruz right now?
Look, you can, if it's okay to give a shout out, a plug.
Please.
All right. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, it's Ojala Wine or Ojala_wine, spelled OJALA_wine. My personal Instagram is Ace Cruz, ACECRUZ 31 on Instagram. There's no business on Wall Street that's conducted there, but if you want to follow me for my Wall Street dealings, you can follow me on LinkedIn. Find me under Ace Cruz. And you can also call me at 1-800-453-6231, and we can talk more in detail. But that's how people can find me.
That's terrific. Now, ladies, I mean, what? You just reach out to Ross Mandell.
There you go. And he'll forward it to me.
Go to...
I trust your judgment.
Trust me. Well, we're going to have, listen, you're top shelf, baby. You're top shelf. I'm not going to come with second rate.
It pays to be a winner.
You got it. Listen, that's exactly right. You can ask for what you want.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done my whole life because I work hard and my nose is on the grindstone. I just want to say we had never met. We had never spoken.
This is our first time.
And I'm so thrilled to get to know you here today.
Thank you, and likewise. I'm very grateful that you had me on your show.
Oh, listen, Ojala.
Yeah. Ojala.
God bless. Don't sue me.
Yeah.
God bless. And what a treat for me.
Thank you.
To get to know you here and understand who you are, what your story is, what you're made of, et cetera, and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say, what a great podcast. What a great episode. Please tune in. You are in for a treat. There's a special man sitting here.
Thank you.
He's unique. He's handsome. He's fit. He's single. He's available. And he's on his way to see Donald Trump get sworn in on the 20th. And I thank you for your support and love. I hope everybody has an amazing day.
Thank you.